I always try and share exciting developments on this channel, and recently I was alerted from my Ford dealer that my F450 allocation will likely be approved starting April, and at some point during April, probably the end of April, I'll get a VIN number for my F450 build. I placed this order in 2023, right before I bought my 7.3 gas that you guys definitely have come to know over this period of time. And we're going to talk about how that's going to fit in on the channel. And first, I think we start talking about some of the trucks in my past and what led me down the path to the 450. So as many of you know, I also have an '04 Ford Excursion, but what really started me down the new truck path was my Power Wagon. And for me, I ordered that truck because it was the best thing I could buy off-road, and it still towed pretty darn well. I love the Power Wagon. I ordered that, and it had ram boxes, which I really, really liked. The amount of camping, and interestingly, a Minn Kota trolling motor will fit in the ram box as long as you don't have a bunch of other garbage in it, and it will close and lock. Ram boxes are amazing. So that truck opened up the door for, first of all, me seeing, as we've talked about, the efficiency of buying a new truck in terms of getting me or allowing me to have the time to get out and have fun as opposed to constantly tinkering. It was very reliable, other than the power steering pump that we talked about, and it towed really, really well for what it was and for the fact that it works so well off-road. My friends and I, as opposed to just using our trucks, simply because they ended up getting out of trucks for a while after breaking some stuff and finding out that the cost of keeping going with older trucks and running them off-road, it added up, and we started to get more into off-roading, and therefore the weekend warrior lifestyle of the enclosed trailer full of gear or full of quads or side-by-sides or dirt bikes and camping out of the trailer and all that other stuff, we were doing huge miles in a truncated weekend, because sometimes I didn't get out of class until 8 o'clock, in the same way some other people didn't get out of, whether it was their working portion of the school or their school, until late on Friday too. So our weekends didn't begin until like 9:30 by the time everyone got their stuff together. So we had a very truncated fly up north, do our thing, fly home to be back. I'd usually be in Holland at my desk at 8 a.m. on Monday every week, following week, or I had to be in class, and I usually had 8 a.m. classes in Flint every week on Monday. So weekends were very fast-paced and truncated. Now, I already had some experience with a good high horsepower diesel and how quick it towed, so the 6.7 powerstroke was absolutely perfect for me during this period of time. And before that, it's really where my Cummins filled in. Being that my V10 Excursion, it was a good tow vehicle, but it wasn't crazy fast. Where about a 400 wheel horse Cummins really gets the job done, and for that, it worked for me for a long time. Now, my Cummins is 410 gears. Something that I grew to be very comfortable with and enjoyed was having a lot of gear ratio. I was carrying overdrive at much lower speeds. I could hold overdrive with the trailer at 50 mile an hour in that truck with 33s on it. That was a really good truck, or it is a really good truck, it influenced how much I enjoyed my 6.7 powerstroke, because the 6.7 powerstroke, instead of having to do a bunch of work to it, I just bought the thing. It had the power, and it very much did the job. I did have a couple of complaints. Now, I had my 6.7 powerstroke for 5 years, and a lot of things in my life changed. I started towing a little bit heavier weight, grabbed a couple pieces of equipment of my own, and got some pieces of land that I take care of. Also helped friends take care of their pieces of land. So things have evolved a little bit, and with time, I started finding out that I was pushing my 6.7's rating pretty strongly. I was using, or for boats and for most campers, anybody would buy a 250 with a 6.7, as long as it's not a big fifth wheel. Payload is going to be fine. A big fifth wheel is going to, my truck only had like 2,018 pounds of payload, so a big fifth wheel is going to max that out. But a big conventional trailer, even a big boat, isn't going to be a problem for a 250 with the diesel. And it wasn't in terms of its performance. I put a set of Timbrins on it, which worked great. Super cheap way to do the job in terms of leveling with the trailer. And that whole combination worked really well, but I knew as the YouTube channel was growing, I was going to want to have more towing capacity so that I wasn't filming myself doing something that wasn't proper, even though the vehicle stability was just fine. If anyone's towing with a 250 and you're pushing its limits, I'm sure you know that its limits are very similar to a 350. Just because the door badge says one thing doesn't mean that the overall handling characteristics change that much. It's really it's a bit of a numbers game. So another mistake that I was making by necessity was wheeling my tow rig, which Didn't actually bite me in the butt at all, but with a diesel, wheeling it, you could rip the oil filters off because they hang low both on the trans and on the motor. And depending on different brands that you have, like Allison's, they definitely have an oil filter in a very scary place for off-roading. So be very careful with that. But wheeling your off-roader can be a very negative thing. And I wanted to share this picture. Hopefully Randy Wise is okay with it. This is Randy, the guy who owns Randy's Transmissions. I'm a fan. I don't have any affiliation with him, but seeing his four-door dually wheel the way it does is pretty freaking wild. But I wouldn't recommend that you do that with your tow rig, and that's why I knew I wanted to have a designated tow rig, and that's where the F450 comes in. So I definitely have gravitated away from fancy trucks. I ordered an XL with cloth or with vinyl seats with rubber floors, all black. So all the trim will be black. Hopefully the bumper, the grill, the fender flares will all be black. They come standard with 430 gears. So the biggest reason that I went with a 450 over like a 350 dually is as follows. I wanted the heavy duty wheels and tires. I wanted the wide track front end for the really tight turning radius. I wanted hydroboost. So the only truck that you can get hydroboost in a Ford Superduty normal pickup truck is the F450, and it's going to provide way better braking performance. That was the one place where the pedal feel wasn't that great. The overall power of the brakes, they were good, but without hydroboost, when you're using the vacuum system, and the other thing I don't like, so there's not really any vacuum with a diesel. You have to have a vacuum pump. My Cummins has a vacuum pump, and it's been a constant source of problems, but thankfully the only thing the vacuum pump does on my Cummins is the speed control, which is so stupid. Why do we use vacuum? Engineers, why are you so fascinated with vacuum? Vacuum needs to die, and we need to not use it for anything. But, so, the front axle has 1550 joints in it. It's super duper strong, the wide track, and it's the only model still, and I didn't know this when I ordered it, but the 450 is the only model that still has the Dana Super 60. All the rest have gone to them 235. So that's another, I got lucky on that. So the downsides of the F450 is it's constrained to 14,000 pounds, just like a F350 dually. So you don't get any more payload. So the truck weighs more because it has a slightly stronger rear axle. It has an upgraded front axle, which is heavier. It has some extra cooling going on, and it has frame reinforcements, except for you don't get any extra payload. So it has the running gear of a cabin chassis truck, basically. Not exactly, but just for argument purposes, for sure, wheels, tires, brakes from a cabin chassis truck. And, it has front axle. The rear axle it's a 41 spline version of the M300. So it's basically the F350 rear end with stronger axle shafts, which is great. Super cool from a nerdy perspective. It is a nerd's truck. The thing is that I know that the payload is going to be artificially low. I know that the GCVWR is artificially low, and I know the capabilities of the truck, and therefore I'm planning on using it as such. And to be frank, I don't think that we'll be maxing that truck out anytime soon, but the thing is we're definitely going to be finding its limits. So, the other thing, 430 gears, especially with the 10-speed. You got 10 speeds, you got 3 overdrive gears. Why wouldn't you want to have more axle ratio? I'll tell you, because you can't pass emissions. That's the biggest reason why in a normal truck, you're capped at 355 for a single wheel. And they do allow you with the max tow option, and they build less of them, to have 410 gears in the F350. The F450 itself is only 430 gear. I think it's going to be a huge advantage when towing. When you have a designated tow vehicle, I think it's going to be a huge advantage. So I will not be choosing to make my tow vehicle a wheeler, and it's going to be only a tow rig, which is going to be really awesome for me, and that's what I had envisioned when I ordered the truck, and that's what drove me to get rid of my 6.7, which I loved. I really liked the 6.7. But for me, that was a 6.7 that was sort of playing the game of the Power Wagon, except for with the diesel towing capabilities. I wanted something that was towing specific, not playing the off-road truck also game. So a couple things. Supposedly only 5% of Super Duty allocations become F450s. So first of all, they're hard to get. Second of all, just so everybody knows, I put this order in a long time ago. And it worked out actually really well for me because I didn't need it quite yet. And I've been getting by just fine with my 7.3 gasser. And I haven't had time to do the long distance trips that this truck is kind of intended for, getting out west, getting down south with the powerboat, with potentially a camper at some point. So I hadn't got to that point yet, so I'm actually very happy that it worked out this way. The dealer that I selected for this is one that I've bought many vehicles from. I trust the salesman. I like the dealership, and therefore I wanted to order from them. They're a huge dealership here in Michigan. But they didn't get a lot of F450 allocations, which worked out actually in my favor. So someone's going to say, why didn't you just go out buy one somewhere else? Because honestly, I didn't need it yet. And I'm really happy that it's happening right now because it's a really good time for the channel. It's a really good time for me. It's a good time for my family. So good stuff is happening. So I just wanted to clarify that. So I did order the HO. It's going to be an XL with vinyl seats, rubber floor, and it's an HO power stroke. So it's going to be kind of cool, and of course, four-wheel drive. That kind of goes without saying. So 500 horse, 1,200 foot-pounds of torque. I really, from a nerdy perspective, the water-cooled compressor housing is really, really cool because it's going to help keep those intake temps down as the turbo starts to get warm. It's going to keep that heat from creeping from the turbine side to the compressor side. It's going to help the compressor side bearings, which is going to be good for turbo longevity and, of course, pulling grades. I haven't had to go out west lately. That's why I've been doing very well with my F350 7.3. When you get going out west, pulling long grades is a thing. Having big brakes to help you come down the hill, having an exhaust brake is a huge advantage. So this is where this truck falls into place for me. And the water-cooled turbo, first of all, the Duramax have been water-cooled since the beginning, but only on the turbine side. The Cummins, I think, now has a water-cooled turbine side. It didn't used to. And the 6.7 has been water-cooled since its inception on the turbine side. But now that there's the compressor side cooling is super cool. And from a nerdy perspective, I'm interested to see how that pans out long-term. The other thing is the engine has stainless steel exhaust manifolds, and that stainless steel reacts very well to getting hot and to being heat cycled, and therefore, to me, is a superior product. It's more expensive. If you look at aftermarket headers for Duramaxes or whatever in stainless steel, you're going to know real, and also stainless steel headers, you know how expensive those are for like a V8. A gas vehicle. So that's an expensive upgrade. And so these three things, and it's not just the top line power and the top line torque, it's the area under the curve that matters. So yeah, it's only 25 horse, but 150 foot-pounds of torque is a heck of a lot of torque, okay? You're going to feel that. 25 horsepower, honestly, you will feel that. But it's really the area under the curve, but it's the other things. It's the water, like I said, the water-cooled compressor housing, I think, is just such a cool thing. And also the stainless steel, to me, makes it worth the $3,000 upgrade when I ordered it. I'm so pleased that I did because I just wanted to have the top dog towing truck. That's why I bought this. But I don't like over-option trucks. That's why it's an XL. It's not going to be super glamorous from that perspective, but I don't think any of that matters. I think its resulting performance is going to be what matters. And now we're going to talk about how we're going to use it on the channel. So that's kind of exciting. So we're going to make them fight. We're going to make them run head-on into each other. We're going to find out which one dies first. Diesel on gas, which one dies first. No, I'm just kidding. What we're going to find out is, because I'm going to hopefully have them both at the same time, you guys have spoken loud and clear. You want to keep seeing 7.3 content, and we will make that happen. The thing is, I think seeing what, in my opinion, the top dog towing version of a 6.7 Power Stroke could be versus a very strong expression of what the best 7.3 towing vehicle would be. Now, the limitations of this comparison is dually versus single wheel, and of course, gas versus diesel, HO versus gas, and me not getting the standard output would have been a smaller step up, but I think seeing the maximum comparison is going to be really cool. The other issue is that I have a 373 gear 7.3 gas, and I love it. I like it for what it is, and I think it kind of complements the combination of an F350 gasser, which is kind of a heavy-duty truck that plays the game of commuting vehicle and regular old Joe's pickup truck very, very well. If it was a 430 gear truck, it would be more of a fighting comparison between the two, but I actually like the two of them because you're never going to be able to equalize between the two of them. But we're going to see how they tow in comparison, what the ownership experience is like, the costs associated with owning two at the same time of a similar era. Now, one downside too is that my 7.3 has a head start. It has 24,000 miles on it as of now, which will keep going up. By the time I get the 450, it'll be somewhere closer to probably 30K or a little bit less than that. So it's going to have a little bit of a head start, which means it's going to get out of warranty sooner and things like that. But I think it'll be really interesting to see with the same trailers facing them off. We're going to make them cross over. We're going to make the 7.3 tow in the mountains and see where it compares to the 450, the max, in my opinion, the top dog diesel option, where it starts to fall on its face, what elevation, what size trailer it starts to fall on its face. We're going to see that. The other thing, we're going to make the 450 branch out a little bit too. We're going to examine its practicality in parking situations for daily driving. I joke all the time about going to get pizza in my tow rig. Yeah, I go pick up the family's pizza for Friday night in the truck that I was just working in, because that's what people do, you know. We're going to branch that, and we're also going to play with it. We're not going to go crazy off-road, because like I said, I'm not going to off-road with my tow rig, but we're going to examine where exactly the dually, and because this will be the first dually I've ever owned. Yeah, I've driven them, but generally speaking, they don't work that well off-road. We're going to see how it performs in terms of family went camping, family wants to go leave the trailer at campground, take the truck, go get ice cream, go to a point of interest, take a dirt road, take a 2-track, things like that. Take a pair of dirt bikes out to the woods, see how it gets there, see if it's terrible getting there or whatever. We're going to examine where the 450 falls on its face in terms of compared. I'll tell you right now, my truck, my 7.3, does that very, very well. It'll tow the trailer there for you. It'll tow basically anything that commonly you guys are towing. And then it'll go get pizza. It'll go take you to a museum. It'll drive you to Chicago if you want to go to a museum in downtown Chicago. It'll do all the truck things. We just were at the art museum in Detroit with my truck. It does normal truck stuff. And we're going to see where the 450 plays in, and I wanted to have the 450 because of the tight turning radius. Its advantage there is going to start to equal out where it sucks in other ways. Maybe not sucks, but where it isn't ideal for your average person. What point are you bridging the gap from a top dog gas truck to bridging the gap into the 450? Now, because my dad owns a single wheel Cummins G56, we definitely have a 250 light duty diesel truck to compare in this comparison. And being that I had my 6.7 powerstroke 250 single wheel for 70,000 miles, I definitely remember what it was like to own that. So I think that we don't need to duplicate necessarily having the 6.7 still, or my other 6.7 still. I think that having the 450 and remembering what it was like to have, because in the similar way, that's one of the reasons I like my 6.7 so much, is it did tow vehicle very good, but then it also bridged over and did off-roading very good, going dirt biking off of it, going to points of interest, picking up pizza, all that good stuff. So we'll remember and we'll keep in mind that my 7.3 could also have a diesel in it, and we'll talk about where that fits into. I have a buddy that you've seen, his 6.7 HO Tremor. That is a sick truck, and it really bridges the gap, in my opinion, unbelievably well between tow rig and off-roading. So we're going to see, we might be able to, he's interested in joining up and doing some having a little bit of fun, comparing his truck, getting out wheeling, maybe going on a camping trip, do something like that. He's interested in playing ball and seeing where his rig, he's got a 350 HO Power Stroke Tremor. It's in black. It looks so sick. I love that his truck, like that truck is a really nice truck. So that's a good bridge there. So I think this is a really good two sides of the coin, and I think it'll be very exciting. Let me know down below if you're excited by this comparison as well, if you want to see it, and let me know what angles you'd like me to test or what things you'd like to test. I'm very curious to see what you guys think about it. Many of you have showed that you're interested in gassers only. Some have shown that you're interested in diesels only, and many of you have shown that you're interested in both sides of the coin. So I'm interested to give you both sides of the coin. Let me know down below on what you think about this.